Right. Hey, Will, you are first. That's why you're my number one fan. This song came on this morning. I was so happy. When I'm in Your Arms by Cleo Soul. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Hey, Poetic Vibrations. Oh, there she go. All right, I always forget how to do this. No, okay.
Like, on with the vibe.
It's just so fitting. All right, let me quit playing. Hey, girlfriend.
Queen, you have no idea how happy I am right now.
Like, I was just sitting here like, dang, I got a whole 30 minutes. I'm just sitting here waiting for him. Like, I'm so excited to talk to you.
Literally same. So we could have jumped on 30 minutes ago because I was like, I'm ready for the vibes. I'm ready.
You know, I'm hoping I deliver. I was sick last week, so I was like, let me make sure my voice sound all right, so I could talk to my girl. You know, I was so serious when I said I'm not the fangirl because I'm so in awe and in love with you. Like, you're just so beautiful. You're so good at everything. And it's like, it's so effortless, not just love to see you shine. You don't understand. Like,
Girl, I got my tissues ready.
damn, I didn't think of that. I'm not trying to cry. Okay, let me stop. Let me stop.
I'm like, don't make me start reciting your poems back to you because that's the level that we on today.
Oh wait, so it's like, wait, that's not upside down. But you know, I got it.
We about to pull them out. Hold on, virtual, but I'm here. Y'all
Yes, look at my baby.
Y'all see it? Ooh. I was literally just telling Brookie earlier my favorite poem so far in her book. And it's on mine, it's on page 68, If I Were a Tree. And I was like, girl, if you don't minister to the brokenhearted.
I was on something when I wrote that. But I don't know if you could tell, but I have so many poems like bookmarked. And I went through again a little bit ago and I'm just like, dang. There's so much to say.
Oh,
But I'm so proud of you and congratulations on your second book. I'm so happy you have this book tour. Like I said, seeing my name, I was like, oh my gosh, I made it. I'm on the list.
official. Because I was like, baby, Brookie is important. I love the conversations you've had with poets so far that I've gotten to see. And I was honored when you reached out because I was like, baby, soon come. We're going to get on here together so we can talk all things poetry. I'm so thrilled.
Yes, I'm excited. So, I mean, I guess we should start, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let me get to my questions. Okay, so right when you open this bad boy up, you say, Dear reader, you have no idea how much it means to me that you chose to buy my very first collection of poems. These poems were written between 2013 and 2020. You know, these poems were not meant to be shared with people, you know? What made you decide to put this book together?
Oh, the best way that I could describe it would maybe be divine intervention, and divinity can be however you choose to define it. But I have been writing these poems for 7 years, so from 2013 to 2020, while I was going through it. I separated from my ex-husband. We finalized our divorce. I experienced homelessness. I went through a deep, deep, deep depression. I was in Chicago by myself, new to Chicago because I had just moved here in 2012, and it was literally just like a year later that this was happening. So I hadn't really established roots and like grounding yet. It was, I wanted to give up every single day. And I was writing poetry to get myself through it. And these poems weren't for anybody to see. These were poems that I like to describe as poetry I wrote in the dark. They were for me and me only. Like they were scribbled in all kinds of notebooks and in notes apps on my phone and everything. Like when I say I didn't intend for anybody to see, I mean it. I don't know. I never had the dream to publish a book before. That's not, you know, and I know and respect that a lot of people do have that dream. And I want everybody who wants to please get on out there and publish it. But it just wasn't a dream of mine. It wasn't something I was expecting. 2020, a lot of things had changed. I was newly married to the love of my life. So very happy in a new environment, still in Chicago with family, like people that are like, these are the people that I choose and choose me. And just lots of things that changed and happened. And I was writing this poem and I'm like, yo, I'm having all these feelings and this and that. And the best way I could describe it is like a God voice, spiritual voice, the ancestors, a voice spoke to me and was like, you should publish this. And I was like, okay, because I have a blog. So I was like, okay, good. I'm about to go ahead and publish it on my blog. And the voice was like, that's not what I mean.
That's not enough.
That's not what I mean. I mean, you should publish all of these. And that was in early 2020. And I'm sitting there like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Because what? I started going through like my journals and reading all this poetry. And while I had blogged and stuff about my divorce, and because I really believe that your story can help other people when you break your chains, God, reach out and touch somebody's hand, reach out and bring somebody with you. So I had talked openly about my divorce, but I had never talked openly about depression or self-loathing and the darkness that comes with the things that I survived. And so I was like, what do you mean publish it? This don't make no sense. You clearly talking to me. Let me go to bed and try again to see if you come back and say something else. Come on, bike and say something else. Maybe same bike and was like, no, what I said. I meant what I said.
I said what I said.
I said what I said. You should publish this. And I began the process of learning even what that meant. And here we are.
Here we are. And I'm so grateful that you're in such a different place. And to be able to talk about this with a beautiful smile on your face and just know that you're in a different place and you out here being loved correctly, unapologetically. Like, yeah, there's just so much I want to say. It's like I almost don't even want to pay attention to these questions, but they help me focus. So, how did you come up with the title, Seasons, I'll Be Seeing You?
Yes, ma'am. Get it. Bam.
And there's also, real quick, there's also a poem in here entitled the same thing, if you all didn't know that.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. I wrote the poem Seasons, I'll Be Seeing You. I wrote that in November 2015 after I left a career that I thought I could see myself in forever. God was like, that's actually not the truth. And it was like going through another divorce. It was like going through another breakup. There was so much loss for me between 2013 and 2017. I can't begin to explain there. So I felt really lost and really broken. I wrote the poem Seasons in November 2015, again, for myself, because I was like, I just got to release. I have to accept that the season of that has ended. And that it's time for me to move into something else. And I don't know what that something else is. And I'm really scared. And I don't know, it hurt a lot. But obviously didn't know I was going to publish a book and therefore did not know that poem would become the title of the book. And it was more like when I was looking at all the poetry that I was putting together and I was like, what should I name this book that I never thought that I would write? Seasons, I'll Be Seeing You, that poem really just stood out to me because it felt like it was the turning point of a lot of things in my life. And so I chose that.
You know, I believe it's very fitting. I feel like this whole body of work is like a roller coaster of emotion. Like it starts off kind of dark and then you just see the progression and the light And it's just a beautiful piece of work, and I'm just so happy and proud of you.
Girl, stop, because I'm over here.
All right, so speaking of that, like, how therapeutic was it to create this body of work? I mean, I know you said like it wasn't meant to be shared and it was just something for you, like, as an intervention to write yourself out of. So like, how did that feel?
Liberating, very liberating. Like, I've always been told that uh, when you release what you hold in the dark into the light, it holds less power over you. I'd
Mm.
always been told that. And I definitely have seen evidence of that in my life. Like when I told the truth about things that have happened to me, around me, and things that I've experienced, I feel freer because other people that love me and care about me are willing to share that burden with me, like, and willing to sit with me through the darkness and into the light. And yeah. So I've always known that, but I didn't know it at this level until I published this book. Because it's one thing to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and tell my friends, my close circle of friends,
Right.
that I'm for divorce. I'm experiencing homelessness. I've got all these things. Like I can tell that and feel the burden lifted and have that circle of people love on me. But it's a different thing, and you know this, Brookie. It's a different thing to then be like, I'm gonna then take that and put that in a book where anybody who knows me or don't know me could pick it up and read and interpret my life as they see fit. It's some scary stuff.
No, for real, it is. It
It's
definitely is. Because even when I did it, I was like, yeah, I did this. But then I'm like, oh, wait, people about to read this.
they
Like,
got to know my deepest, most innermost thoughts. Because even when I read Confessions of a Good Girl, I feel closer to you. And I have had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last, like, what has it been now? Maybe like a year?
I think it's been like almost a year exactly. Because remember, I did my first open mic in November.
So almost exactly a year of knowing you and reading your words, though. It's like, oh, I get it at a different level. Oh, she and I can connect on this. Oh, I felt that when she said, oh, girl, drop them off. Bye. Like I felt that at like, and so when you decide that you're going to open yourself up, it means that you open yourself up for people to either relate to you or feel you, empathize with you, sympathize with you, or maybe be like, girl, what is you talking about? I hate that. It is what it is. And I think getting to that place of it is what it is incredibly liberating, because then you're like, love me, hate me, like it, love it. It's done.
No, that's real because like and I'm not about to talk about myself too much, but like, you know,
I'll talk about you. Don't worry.
no, just like in my acknowledgments and everything, like I was just talking about how I wrote this book for me, and I was like, damn, I sound selfish as hell, but no, because it just
Mm-mm.
meant so much to be able to do that for myself and to free myself from these burdens that have been in my mind, on my heart, and my spirit for so long, that it was just like, you know what? Yes, I was depressed. I was anxious. I hated myself, all of these things, but I'm not that person anymore. I'm growing every day. And like, this is living proof that I'm evolving, you know? And that kind of leads me to, I'm gonna skip around a little bit. So the poem I Hate Myself, that was one that really resonated with me. You know, I've obviously felt that way before admitting to that. But can you talk about how you've, grown to love yourself since writing this piece and what that looks like? I mean, I want to read it real quick. I hate myself. I feel it creeping up like a warm, familiar blanket with its stench of sweat and flesh. Wash after wash every time, assuming it will become new again. Yet somehow it still carries its old scent. Get rid of it, you might shout. Throw it away, or get dramatic and send it up in flames. I've tried. I've washed it with the purest of therapies, burnt it in the fires of the Holy Ghost over and over again, each time hoping to be made new. Yet here I am with the same raggedy ass blanket. It just won't let me go. I hate myself.
This was also like a spiritual experience for me to have someone else read something that I wrote out loud while like literally I was like, oh, Pam, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Yeah. Um, I will say that I hated myself for a very long time, long before this poem existed. Um, I grew up in the South. I grew up in a culture where certain skin types were valued over others, certain hair types were valued over others, certain body types were valued over others. And it just felt like everywhere I turned, whether it was within my community, within the Black community, or outside of it, I was just repeatedly being told that as I am, this is not good. This is not enough. This is not worthy. This is not. And it led to some complicated relationships in my life, both with loved ones and family members who harmed me, and with relationships, exes, and people who definitely hurt and harmed me. I'm a multiple abuse survivor, and I don't say that as a trigger warning because I'm not going to go into that. I'm just naming it because I have survived. I have thrived. I am who I am now. I hate myself because I thought that I was the receiver of those abuses because
Hmm. I don't know. It's breaking up. Is it breaking up for anybody else? I think we lost her. Come on, Pam. Come back to me. We was getting good. What is going on? Anybody else? I don't know. Should I like remove her and bring her back? Dang, I don't know what happened. Wait. Come back. Okay, you back. I think you back. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can see you, but I can't hear you. I'm gonna get rid of you and then I'm gonna bring you back if you can hear me. Let's see how we do this. Hmm. Pam, Pam, where you go? Oh, she left. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna bring her back now.
let me see
Hey, girl.
if I can. Brookie,
Hi. Is it working?
girl,
I don't know what happened.
the technical difficulties.
The technical difficulties of it all.
Child, I don't even remember what I was saying.
Okay, so I had asked, we were talking about the poem I Hate Myself. And the last thing I heard was you saying you're a survivor and something about being different and that's a part of your journey.
I am back. Okay, let me wrap that up real briefly. Okay. Um, I am a survivor. I'm a multiple abuse survivor. And I don't say that to trigger anyone because this is definitely a story of survival, but not just survival, but thriving and learning to live and love and be who you are unapologetically. But it is part of my story. It's things that I've survived. And I thought that the abuses that I had experienced were because of me, were because I look like I look and walk like I walk and talk like I talk. I thought that, and I also thought that that was love. So if love is you hurting me, then how do I learn to love myself? Like, how do I love myself then? Because, and I think that that self-loathing, that self-hatred was a product of that because other people treated me like I was worthless. And if I'm going to believe that that's what love is, then I have to treat myself that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
I hated myself through and through. I have no problem with being completely honest about that. But through many years of therapy, many years of therapy, I have a great relationship with my therapist. Through many years of therapy, and I do just want to name that I recognize the most common form of therapy that is present in our therapy now is talk therapy, and it does not work for everyone. There are many other therapeutic modalities that you can consider, that you can try: yoga, music. There are so many different things. Group therapy. There's so many options if talk therapy is not for you. But for me, as a talker and as a writer, definitely it has helped me. I've been in therapy for many years. I also left the religious environment that I was a part of that was also feeding into that, because I was in a very strict religious environment growing up in the South, where women were expected to be seen and not heard, and you were expected to be obedient and silent and sit over there in the corner and shut your mouth. And so breaking from that also was traumatic and difficult. But leaving that and learning to find my own religion and to find God for myself been a part of me learning to love me. Because then God is like, girl, all that stuff they were telling you before, that ain't, I don't know what that is. I love you just as you are. So it's been a really beautiful but incredibly difficult, many years long journey to get here.
And I'm so glad you made it through. I'm so glad you made it through and are making it through, because healing is not a walk in the park. It's something that you have to work at and continue to put the work in.
These are facts. These
You
are
out
facts.
here, girl. You that girl for real.
Oh, you that girl. Yeah, I'm still on the journey. Y'all might see my cat because he just woke up and now he's wanting attention. So he's going to join not the Zoom, this Instagram live at this time.
No problem. All right. So, I think that it's very cool that you're a winner, in life. And this piece of work is no different. Like, you won some awards for it. And this is your debut book. Like, how cool is that?
It's very cool. It's still very surreal. I still struggle. Like my best friend L'Oreal is has spent a long time working in journalism and PR and media. She is a media queen. And he'd be like, you need to get very comfortable with introducing yourself as, hello, I'm Pam. I'm an award-winning poet and author. That is so uncomfortable because our culture definitely don't teach you to really stand in your shine in this way. So it's still very surreal to me, and I still struggle with being like, okay, this is who I am. Girl, imposter syndrome is real. Imposter syndrome is like, what are you talking about? You still that girl that was writing poetry in the back of her car when she was sleeping in the back of her car when she was experiencing homelessness. What are you talking about?
Yeesh. No, girl, you an award-winning poet. Talk about it. Let them know. I don't even know if I introduced you, but that sucks on my part. But this is Pam, an award-winning poet. She's unapologetically herself. That's like 25 minutes and I'm just now introducing you. I'm so sorry.
Girl, you are good. I felt properly introduced and loved and welcomed in as soon as I got here, boo.
Okay, as long as you know, because it's there. It's there.
Yes, queen. I feel it. I love it.
All right, so I'm a little observant. So me reading your book, I noticed that there's like periods after every title, and I just wanted to know. Maybe it's me just being nosy and in this writing process, but like, why is that? What does that signify? What was you doing? What you mean by that? What you mean by that?
Listen, I need you to know that I love this question. I love it. And I was like, ooh, let me definitely think about this. And I think okay, bye-bye. I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah, that's Samson. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Samson.
What it came down to was when I wrote these poems, like the poem I Hate Myself, I really feel even when I say the title out loud, I feel physical tension in my body, and it makes me want to qualify it, to give you a qualifier. I hate myself, semicolon, but not anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? It makes me want to explain myself. And the periods at the end of each poem was me releasing myself from explanation. It is what it is. Worthless, oblivion, period. I don't mind, period. Like, I don't know, it was another one of those liberating moments. It was a liberation moment for me because it's like, this is a full sentence.
Okay.
This is a full stop.
I'm looking at everything so much differently now. Like, save me.
Whew.
Therapy. Final call. Past versus present. New.
Yep.
Damn. Okay. I like that. That's different.
Thank
I like
you,
that.
sis.
So obviously the book is called Seasons. What is it about the elements and the seasons that really appeal to you? Like, you have a whole section in your book about them. So you're talking about water and the moon and Jupiter, and it's just like there's some type of like something bigger is happening. It seems like it's not just surface level. Like, you connected to some other things. You know, let's hear about that.
Baby, let's unpack it. That is the one section of the book that I thought about not including because does it make sense? And basically what had happened was through those 7 years that I was on this healing journey, talking to my therapist, she would be like, you know, have you spent any time outside?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just go for a 5-minute walk, just get yourself out of the environment that you have been in. What ways can you be intentional about getting outside and getting outside of yourself and observing the world around you? So literally, when my now husband and I first started dating, we both discovered that we enjoyed planetariums and we enjoyed looking at stars and the moon. And we spent probably like 2 or 3 summers doing what I would call chasing stars. We would look at the maps of like what the stars were going to be tonight or what planets were visible tonight and go find a place where we could go look at them. We went to beaches and to the lake. We went to the ocean. We went to all of these different places and just observed. And it allowed me the chance to get outside of my circumstance and get in tune with the actual outer world around me. And I would be writing these poems. Again, none of these poems, again, were intended to be published or put anywhere. But especially the elemental healing part, because those moments were just for me. I was like, wow, look at, I can see Jupiter. Oh my God. And I'd be like, literally, I carry a notebook with me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. And I would be like scribbling down these little poems and they were just for me. And I was like, oh, this is all part of my healing journey. So then when it came down to publishing the book, I was like, I don't know that this makes sense in the story. And it was my husband who was like, it's absolutely part of your story. It's a necessary part of your story because you literally used that elemental heal yourself. You went into the elements to find something that was bigger than you outside of your circumstance. You got to include it. So I was like, okay, well, what if people are like, this don't make no sense? And it's actually been like, I've had people tell me that, you know, their favorite poem is in the elemental healing section. And that just means a lot to me because I'm like, wow, I didn't even expect anybody to get it.
My favorite poem, let me see where it is. Let me see. I bookmarked, but I bookmarked so many. It's like, damn, girl, it's the whole book.
Brookie.
Sorry.
Take your time, boo. Here goes Samson coming back. So take all the time you need.
Okay, I found it. Okay. It's always.
Oh.
And it makes me, it makes me want to question whether your husband got any brothers or cousins, uncles, I need me one of him, because he seemed to be loving you right. And I'm trying to be on that wave,
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I want that for you too. His brother is married.
But is he happy? I'm just kidding. Pray for me.
When I tell you I scrapped. But yes, he is.
All right, I'll let it rest. What's your favorite season then?
My favorite season, okay, Samson. Samson would like to tell you his favorite season.
I'm guessing it's now.
My favorite season is definitely fall and autumn. I was born this time of year. October is my favorite month of the year. I love Halloween. I love celebrating. It's like the one holiday that feels completely normal for you to celebrate with your friends and, versus, the whole family getting together for matching pajamas and taking pictures or whatever, which is super cute for those of you who have those kind of relationships with your family.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of us who maybe do not, it can be a little challenging. So I just love Halloween. I love fall. The leaves change colors and like the atmosphere starts to change. You get some of those like quiet, foggy mornings, that cool breeze. I feel most like myself.
Same. Sweater weather. Sweater weather.
Yeah, weather, weather. I feel most like myself now.
All right, so I'm so excited to hear about your new book. Like, I want to hear all about it because I don't have it yet. Obviously, I'm gonna get it, but tell me about it. Like where'd this come from? I didn't even know. Like, what
Oh,
happened?
Samson said, "Do not cover my face." I said, "Okay, baby, I'll cover mine." My new book. Yes, my new poetry book is called No Unpaid Passengers. And I was thinking about this when I was thinking about your questions about the title. This book the title of this book is a phrase that was coined in therapy with me. Me and my therapist came up with that phrase, no unpaid passengers. I was at a breaking point in some complex social relationships in my life, and I ended up in the hospital and talking to the doctors and them being like, you're perfectly healthy, but like the stress is breaking your body down and you have to do something to alleviate that stress. And it really changed things for me because I just went home convinced that like I'm gonna die and it's gonna be because of stress. And I can't do this anymore. All of these things and these histories and these past relationships and things that I've been carrying, and even relationships with loved ones, which is a complicated story. Um, like relationships with families, old friends that I had relationships with. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, if I keep carrying everyone before I carry myself, that is going to be my demise. I always thought that I was going to, I always felt like I would get to this place where I was sick enough to either make a choice or die. And that sounds complicated, hopefully not triggering for anyone who may be experiencing any sort of parasuicidal ideations or anything of that nature. It's just, this is my truth. So in therapy, I was like, I have to make a choice. And my therapist was like, let's do it. Who are these people you carrying with you? Let's write their names down. Let's write down these stories and relationships. And I was like, I can't keep carrying them. I can't keep paying for their mistakes. And she was like, no, yes, no unpaid passengers, no unpaid passengers ever again. You can't keep carrying those passengers in your body. And I was like, yes, no unpaid passengers, period. How do we make that happen? So in our relationship, in our therapy relationship, every time I would get to a place where I was about to turn away from a boundary that I set on purpose because I
Mm-hmm.
felt guilty because someone in my life who I used to say yes to, I'm now saying no to, and they are not taking it well. And I'd be like, I can't do this. I can't. My therapist would be like, did this person pay for a ticket? Are
Right.
they a paid passenger or an unpaid passenger? And I'd be like, you're right, they're an unpaid passenger. I gotta let them go. And it was really hard, but much like this book with the first book, yes, I've been writing poetry all this time, including there's a poem in this book that I know that I wrote at your open mic in last November, and I need to figure out which poem it is.
Me too.
I got to go back in my notes, but there's a poem in this book that I wrote from your poetry prompt at the November open mic you did last year. So I have been writing poems like that, like being in workshops, getting prompts from people, doing whatever, not planning for a book, writing for myself, hadn't published anything, except I had gotten published in a couple of like magazines that I submitted to and things of that nature, but I wasn't like planning for a second book. And as No Unpaid Passengers, the phrase sort of took off in my life, and me and my therapist, I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. These poems I've been writing are all the story of no unpaid passengers. And I told my therapist, I'm like, I know the name of my second book, and I know when it's going to be released. And
Ooh.
we've both been so thrilled. She's been reading the book and like sending me stuff about different poems. Like, I remember when you were going through this, and like, it's been really cool.
Don't you love that?
Yeah.
I think something similar happened to me and my therapist before. Like she congratulated me when I published my book. I think she bought it as well. Unfortunately, I stopped going at like after that. But it just feels good to like have someone who you trust and who knows your story to like congratulate you and like be able to like recognize what you've worked through. That's beautiful.
It
It's
is.
like another layer of affirming affirmation,
Mm.
So I think you should share a poem with us because I wanna get like a little sneak peek or something. Tell us more about this book. We got the title, but like I want to know more.
Oh my God. Okay. Um, this book is also divided into sections, life season. I think it's the historian in me. So I'm a professional historian by trade. I have my bachelor's and master's in modern French history, actually. Very specific.
Mm.
And so I think the historian in me, the way that we always had to write like our theses and like all of those things, you would section things, you would label things. So I feel like that's part of the reason why the first book has the labels, like the sections labeled very clearly. And I kept with that theme in this one. But the difference is in this book, I imagined the structure of this book as the sort of memories and stories and thoughts that can come to you if you were on a long train ride.
Okay.
I live in Chicago, so there are long train rides. That happens very regularly. So if you're on the train and you're just kind of flowing through and you're looking out at the different neighborhoods and suddenly you remember like, oh, I remember that's where, me and my ex used to live. And oh, I remember that I used to work over there. And oh, like all of those things. It's kind of how I structured the book. So the chapters are titled, first chapter is Unpaid Pain. Complicated. The next stop, Alone on the Night Train.
Okay.
Love on the Ride.
Wait. What was the third one?
Love on the Ride.
Okay.
And then the last one is End of the Line.
Mm-hmm.
So you get off. And then there's a special chapter at the end. The afterword is titled Anybody Can Write a Poem, or How Rejection Turned into a TED Talk.
Okay.
And I love that chapter. Oh, but I'm gonna get to that. I will read you one poem from Unpaid Pain. This is the very first poem that you'll find in the book. And I really struggled with including it. But I knew that it was the right thing to do for myself. So the name of this poem is A Prayer for You to Love Me.
Oh, okay, I'm ready.
One day you will accept me as I am, blossoming and unfolding into a flower that you did not expect. Maybe you purchased the wrong seed, or the packaging was mislabeled. Either way, I am yours. I did not ask to bloom, yet you planted me. One day you will see my thorny stems, the petals bursting with colors you've never seen or would never wear yourself. And you will see good. You will see good in me. Yes. One day you will look at what I've become and you'll choose me. You'll choose me again.
That was so lovely.
Thank you.
That was so lovely. Wow.
Thank you, sis.
That is so powerful.
Thank you. I was talking to a reviewer, because for those of you who want to publish, thank you, Kelsey. For those of you who want to publish or thinking about publishing books, one area of the industry that you might consider is doing critics reviews, which, spoiler alert, even your favorite author has to pay to get critics reviews. That is how the industry makes money. So you will have to pay to get critics reviews. If you end up with a book contract from an agency or get a book agent, they may cover the cost of those critics reviews in your contract. So consider all those things, because I know we're going to talk a little bit about publishing too. That's like my first tip. You might want to get critics reviews because it can boost your title in on different websites, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, all those different places, by having like an official critics review. It's like I don't know, it's like a brag book kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a critic that I'd reached out to for review and got back their review. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Because the very first thing she said was, I immediately picked up on the theme of parental neglect. And I was, ooh, my back. Because, I have a complex family, as many do, and I'm still working through that. It's one of the things that I work through in therapy, and it's not a thing that I'm quite ready to talk about as openly yet. So that poem, A Prayer for You to Love Me, was like a real step out on faith for me, because I'm like, I'm not quite ready to talk about all of these things yet, because I haven't gotten to a place in my healing where I can comfortably do that. And it made me nervous as hell that she was like, from the very first chapter, I picked up on the theme of parental neglect. And I was like, baby, I never even said no parent name in here.
Right.
She was like, it was evident. And she started naming other poems and lines of the poems that she was seeing and weaving together. And it's true. That is the thing. That's a part of my story and my experience. And it's very uncomfortable that people, if you're paying attention, you can see that thread, even though I don't explicitly say it. It makes me very like nervous, but it's also very liberating. I'm like, maybe I'll start telling the truth.
Right. No, I agree with that, because I think one of the best things about being a writer is how we can talk about things without talking about things, and how we hide stuff in these poems. And it's like, yeah, you may think I'm talking about this, but really this is about this. And I think that's just like the beauty of it. I remember being in like English and language arts when they making us read up on like Emily Dickinson and Edgar Allan Poe. And like, to me, it seemed like that type of work was very clear cut. Like, oh no, they were thinking this, right? But I feel like us actual writers, us Black people, us poets, whatever,
Come
we
on.
mastered that art of being able to talk about things, because I wasn't getting that, at all when I read it. If anything, I'm like thinking this is like you telling somebody close to you. I wouldn't even say that it was specifically like parents or whatever, but like, or family, but just someone close to you, just kind of like, yeah, accept me. Like I'm this flower, I'm beautiful. And you may not, you probably weren't expecting me, but I'm here now, and like, take me as I am. So that's what I was getting. But
I
I just
love
love that. And I feel like I myself have done that a lot, especially with like uncomfortable topics. So yeah, like I too have been writing, and low key I feel like I'm creating a second and third book right now. So yeah, same, Daisha. I thought it was a poem written to yourself as well. Like, it's just, it's just kind of, it gives multiple layers of, different point of views and perspectives.
I love that, because multiple people have told me that. Like, oh, I thought it was a poem to yourself. Kind of like I hate myself, but like in a different spin, because I have talked about like living through self-loathing and learning to love yourself. And I love that interpretation of this poem. And it's really cool as a writer when you have an idea about something and you're writing, and then other people see it and perceive it and receive it in a totally different way. It's so cool. Writing is, it's such a beautiful thing to do and a beautiful thing to be.
I have a question. Probably like one of the last few. Unfortunately, because I could do this all night. So Is there like a piece in this new book that is like a response to something from Seasons I'll Be Seeing You?
Ooh, is there? Hmm.
Because I know I've done that before. Like there's a poem in Confessions of a Good Girl that I have flipped. And it's so funny because that also is about seasons changing. And so I wrote like a response to that poem in different seasons and different circumstances. So I was just curious to know, like, if you have anything in yours that's kind of like not foreshadowing. What's the other one? You know, to this book that kind of like is it
Mm-hmm.
foreshadows? Maybe it is. I don't know.
Words. What are words? We are writers, but what are words, baby?
Right.
But I know what you're saying. That's a great question, and it's not one that I've been asked before, and not something I necessarily have thought about. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think for me, I don't know that there is something I would have to look through both to see, like, are there poems that feel like it's like a direct response or a growth point from something that I've said before in the previous book? And I don't know that it's that, but I will say when I think about seasons, it feels like that book was sort of, I've got these skeletons in my closet and I'm going to open up the door and let you look inside. This book has been like, I'm going to drag some of these skeletons out and we're going to address these skeletons properly rather than acting as if they don't exist.
Yeah.
And so it feels like I can definitely see, and multiple people who have read the book, have read both books, have told me I can see the growth point. Not even one as a writer. As a writer, you grow the more that you write and the more you're in community with other writers, you know, like everybody come to Brookie's open mics. Hello. Okay. You will be in community with some of the best writers and you will get the best prompts. And Brookie is literally forever your hype woman. So come
Girl,
through.
we're talking about you. What are you doing?
You're right. You're right. But I'm just saying that some of the, again, most of the poems, not most, many of the poems in the book were written through workshops, poetry prompts, and things of that nature. So I've definitely grown as a writer, but also I've sort of matured as a person. There are things that maybe I was too afraid to talk about in the first book explicitly that I more so explicitly talk about in this one.
Yeah.
For example, another trigger warning to steel yourself in case you've experienced this. There's a poem in here that is directly about, in a poetic way, but directly about surviving sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I never, ever, ever felt comfortable like writing in poetry about. I've written about it. I've like worked and coached other women who are also survivors before. And it is work that I love and am super passionate about. And passionate doesn't even feel like the right word. It's something like deep in my soul that like I know is something that is important for us, those of us who have survived, to do. But I've never written a poem about it because I was like, I'm not comfortable being like, am I really gonna go there? This book, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go there. It no longer holds power over me. It has impacted the way that I have grown and the way I move through the world for sure. I feel like those of us who have survived different levels of trauma, you move through the world with a different lens. You are often on high alert. You notice things that other people don't notice. And my therapist literally was like, yes, this is called hypervigilance. And I was like, hypervigilance. Okay, now I have a word for it.
Yeah.
So I completely acknowledge that it has impacted the way that I move through the world and it no longer holds me in the dark. I'm like, baby, let me write this poem and release it out in the world so that someone else who maybe has experienced something similar can say, I see myself in this. And I know that I can heal. I know that healing is possible.
I see myself in you as well. You know, you're doing great things and I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm so happy for you just to see you talking and going on this book tour. I'm just like, damn, like, I am so happy and proud. And it makes me feel like, you know, I can see that for myself as well. You know, like, I may not be there right now, but that don't mean that I can't celebrate you where I'm at right now. And I'm living through you, you know. I just need to find me a man like your husband and then I'll be good, you know. I need to start going back to therapy too. Um, but yes. So what were you about to say?
But again, remember, there are other therapeutic modalities. So if therapy is not something that's in the cards right now, there are other things that you can do that are therapeutic to heal yourself too. So there's always possibility.
Yes. Yeah, there is. And you know, writing has always been that thing for me. It's
Mhm.
still that thing. I feel like
It's
I
still
in a while, to be honest. I might need to do it. What'd you say?
say what you just said again.
Oh, I said writing has always been that thing for me, and I feel like I haven't wrote in a while. So who knows? Maybe we need to do another open mic here soon.
Come on, are we getting the exclusive announcement about another open mic?
It sounds like it. I mean, it's only November 2nd, so I guess look be on the lookout for an email from me, right?
Brookie, let's do it. Your open mics are they're places of such joy. And it's for me, I recognize that maybe there are always people on the call that you know, but it's always like, I don't know you. Hi, who are you? Let's be
Right.
friends. Like Kelsey. Now I'll be like listening to Kelsey stuff, and I have his song saved for the poem song that he wrote saved on Spotify. And I'm like, wow, you meet so many cool people and you hear incredible words. I can't say enough, girl. We will turn this whole thing into Brookie's open mic because it is just that fire. It's a beautiful space to be in. If you're a writer and you haven't been, come through.
Thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot. You know, I really just do that for y'all. Like I just want to bask in everyone else's talents because you know, I had never performed before and I was just like I need a safe space where I can feel comfortable doing that. But that has
Wow.
changed because I performed for my first time last month. So I don't know, maybe I'm a performer now.
Ooh,
You
she
know,
cute.
I be like you.
I saw you and Kelsey, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, no, special shout out to Kelsey, who I still want to fight for signing me up. Did not ask him to do that, but you know, the universe must have thought I needed the extra pushing because I was en route and he's like, yeah, I just put you on a list. And my anxiety, he was like, what? So it was like no backing out. But yeah, it was a great time. I got a lot of good feedback. I shared a new poem. And so it just felt really good. It felt really good to be up there. And I think that like the practice from hosting these open mics kind of like helped me because once I said the title and like they was cool and they was rocking with it, I was like, oh shit, I could do this. Okay.
Man, man,
Um,
period.
I try to embody people like you and Naya and Daisha. And Daisha just commented she been trying to push me for almost 10 years. And she's not wrong.
I
Daisha,
see.
oh my gosh. I remember being a freshman at Howard and watching her perform and just being in awe of her. And I'm right now pushing her. Like we got a project that we about to put into the world. Stay tuned, y'all. But
Y'all better this project. So we getting a project and the open mic. Also, Daisha is fired.
we like the project is not ready. Me and Daisha are doing something big, but it's in the works, okay? In the meantime, my biggest fan, Sir William, he's about to start posting some of his pieces as well. You know, I gotta shout everybody out. Daisha's amazing, Kelsey's amazing, Rashad, I don't think he's on here, but he's amazing. Naya, you,
Oh my God.
everybody.
I love them. I love them so much. Y'all's poetry, every single one of y'all, fire. I even Will, when he was talking about I'm not really a poet, but
Right.
I'll read y'all a poem and then just drop that fire, drop that heat on us in the open mic. And I was like, wow, so that's what you do. You go around telling people I'm not really a poet so that you can drop that poetry fire, Will. That's crazy.
It's just they just an imposter for real. They be faking it for real. I hate that.
I hate it for us. But I loved hearing your poetry though. Don't be telling no business, bruh. You supposed to got on the open mic stunting on us like that. I loved it.
All right, real quick. Last question. What advice would you give to other writers, poets, authors about the publishing process, about being unapologetically yourself, living through your truth, opening that door and letting some skeletons come out, airing that hoe out and be like, yo, this is me, you know? Daisha said she has your book on her Christmas list. She's so excited.
Thank you, Daisha. That just moved my heart. Because again, I'll start crying. It's been emotional.
Listen, my cheeks hurt because I'm smiling so much. Like, I'm just such a good time.
Same. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to put some ice on my cheeks after this. This is crazy. Okay. Fellow writer, I would tell you, don't let nobody tell you who you are, but you. Because the world will try and tell you that unless you had certain credentials or came from a certain background, or wait until you get a certain type of publishing contract or whatever, that only then that you can call yourself a writer or a poet. Baby, do you write? Do you write poems? Then you are a writer and you are a poet, period. There's no qualifying. Nothing. That's the end. You're a poet. You're a writer. And don't allow anybody else to tell you what you are or are not based on their opinions, based on what they think writing should look like, what they think real poetry is. I've had some wild conversations with other writers who have very specific ideas about what poetry should be and what it should look like. I am convinced that they are a liar and only you can speak your truth. There's that. One. Being unapologetically yourself takes a lot of work. It means that you have to live into radical self-acceptance. You have to accept who you are. You have to heal the parts of you that are broken. Work towards healing, as Brookie was saying earlier, because healing is a forever process. It's not something that you're going to arrive at. You don't arrive at healing and then be like, all right, I'm here. And now I'm just going to, unpack my tent and stay here. No, it's like it's forever a journey. But you can become unapologetic in your healing. You can say that I'm unapologetically healing. You can say that I'm unapologetically Black, unapologetically woman, unapologetically loud, unapologetic, all those things that people maybe have told you were too much or somehow not enough. Accept yourself as you are. Heal yourself. Work towards your healing and become unapologetically the you that you are meant to be, period. And if we're lucky, you'll write about it and we'll get to read it.
No, for real.
Your book. And the last thing I'll say is there are many paths to publishing. You can go the traditional publishing route where you get an agent and you do the book contract, you get the book advance, you do all of those things, and that's a beautiful journey. I have several friends who are on it. It's also not necessary. It's not the only journey. It is not the only path to becoming an author. I think in our world, we have legitimized that as this is the legitimate path to becoming an author and becoming a writer. The problem with this path is what percentage of those publishers are Black? You're looking at literally under 4%. What percentage of book agents are Black? You're looking at even less. Then what percentage of Black authors then are actually being published of all the Black authors and writers that you know? You're looking at probably about 1%. So if you put yourself against those odds and think that I have a 1% chance then of becoming that published, successful New York best time selling author, you might limit yourself before you even begun. You can also do the other route, take matters into your own hands and be like, I'm gonna self-publish this book. I know that it's worthy. You can work with an editor or a designer to make sure that it has the feel and the look that you want and the quality that you want, and put your shit out there. Put it out there. If nobody reads it but you, but don't worry, I'm gonna read it.
I'm gonna read it.
Me and Brookie will be buying, okay? Because I want to read all of your stuff, and you'll be surprised at the number of people who, one, are in the have taken the self-publishing, the independent author route, because it is a beautiful, freeing journey. Complicated because it means you're doing everything by yourself.
Right.
Where traditional publishing, there's other people that can do things for you, like set up your book tour, design your cover, etc. Independent journey, you're either doing that yourself or outsourcing, and it can become challenging. Both paths are worthy. You are worthy, and we want to read what you write. So please, writer, get to writing, baby.
No, for real. I need more people to talk to on my lives. I need more people that's gonna gonna sit in Brookie's corner. So like if y'all know people or something that I need to be reading, you know, send me a DM, comment whatever, send them my way. I want to talk to as many poets, authors, writers as possible, just because I want to highlight like what people are doing, you know, because you know I went the non-traditional route. I self-published, and
Mm-hmm.
my book is my book. I did it.
And it's beautiful.
Thank you. You know, I did that, and I want to be able to put other people on, you know.
Yes.
I don't think I did my book justice, but that's okay because like I said, I'm working on my second and third one right now.
Woo!
So, yeah. So I mean, I just want to be able to shed light on other people who are doing cool things.
Yeah.
And I just love fangirling and fanboying. Like I love celebrating other people. I love
Mm-hmm.
Pam so much. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy we got to speak on this live. I don't even know what else to say. Like my heart is full. My cheeks hurt. Get her new book. Get her other book. Follow her. Check out like she's amazing. It's just so many things that she does. She's so beautiful. Yeah,
Oh,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Are you crying
y'all,
yet?
yeah, I'm like, y'all, I cry. So, you know, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be on Brookie's Corner. I look forward to seeing all of the writers that are in here. I'm like, Daisha, when yours coming? Kelsey, Will, don't play with me. Like when y'all finna be when y'all finna be up out here.
Oh no, I'm gonna be pushing them. I'm pushing everybody. Everybody about to have something published here soon.
And I agree with you, Will. It is such a big step. So thank you so much for celebrating us, and we want to celebrate you too. So whenever you're ready, again, when you're ready, you already a writer, you already a poet. So whenever you're ready to put it out there, we ready to read.
Yeah, you know, I have to dedicate more time to it, but you know, you might see some single pieces, individual pieces here and there before then, but like I'm really liking my newer stuff because my cutoff for my book is 2020, and it's been 2 years since 20. I published last year, but like you know, I done lived and I got some stories to tell. Um, so
I can't wait to read it. Ooh, I can't wait to read it because baby, we have lived through some things.
we have,
2020 for real.
ooh, we have.
I can't wait. This has been beautiful, Brookie. You are an amazing host. You ask such good questions, y'all. Whenever Brookie reaches out to you to set you up to get on Brookie's Corner, know that you are going to be well taken care of. And I've said this to you before, Brookie. I'm going to say it again here. Just the love and the joy and the support and the care and the intention that you put into the world, not even just for poets in general. I see you fangirling over your friends who are doing other things that are not writing specific. Like we all love Laquan. Let me be very clear. Oh, oh, Laquan, if you watch him, we love you. I see the way you support other people, and I just believe wholeheartedly that that good that you put in the world is coming back to you 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 fold. I stand by it. I stand on it. Listen, 10 toes down on it. Girl, I can't wait to see all the beautiful and good things that you're going to be doing.
Pam, my cheeks hurt. Stop it. You really making me blush.
Girl, it's just the truth. I want to read it. I want to watch it. I want to see it. I want to be there. I want to do all the things. It's fire. I can't wait to see all the things that you continue to do, sis.
It's mutual, okay? Well, I'll be talking to you soon then, because I'm having an open mic soon.
I will see you at the open mic. I'm so excited.
Well, you have a good night. Congratulations again, and I can't wait to see what happens next on your book tour.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, y'all.